tests for the women. The one that does the abortions.
What, Planned Parenthood?
Yeah. He supports Planned Parenthood also.
Well, he
doesn't want to defund them. And I heard something else that was funny today. And it's probably, they said they think that a lot of the Bernie people are going to vote for Donald if Bernie doesn't go through.
Well, it's unfortunate, but, the younger Sanders supporters say, about 30% of them say that they won't vote for Hillary in the general election.
A lot of them say they'll vote for Trump because Trump and Bernie agreed on some things, which is really funny. And they said Trump has toned down on some of his views already, about the different things. That now he's a kinder and gentler Trump when it comes to different
I heard he
things.
wanted to buy one of the Saudi king's wives. He was making him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yeah. Jeez. The Saudis, I can't believe they're controlling the United States. Obama is just bound down to them.
Well, what's he going to do? Look, he said what he has to say. What else is there? He can cut off aid to them. But, the thing that he said was, yes, they are one of the supporters of the fight against ISIS. But what Obama said, which you couldn't say it any stronger, is that we really can't count on them. We don't know when they're going to be utilizing their military. They have the strongest military in the Middle East. Well, next to Israel anyway. Yeah. The difference is that Israelis fight for a purpose.
Yeah. No, they're just the whole thing seems pretty. That he's not strong, Obama. He speaks from concessions. He just concedes.
Join in any time, Elisa, or did you hang up?
No, yeah, I'm actually doing last minute packing and getting ready.
I got it on a QT here that the boss said that if you like, you can leave us because he knows that you have a plane to catch tomorrow.
Exactly.
I actually have to get up at 4:30. I got to get her up at 4:30 in the morning with me and shower, and we have to be out of the house by 7 o'clock.
So what are you talking to us for? Hang up. Go do what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I was listening and I was multitasking. I'm a mother. I do these things.
Well,
but I am gonna hang because I just want to finish up and take the hay, and before I know it, 4:30 you'll be here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very true. Well, listen, have a great time.
Enjoy your trip.
Okay, post some pictures on Facebook.
I definitely will.
And we'll see you in a week, thereabouts.
Yep, and if you hear anything interesting, record it on your iPhone and report it when you come back.
You can be our roving reporter.
Got it.
Just like Mark did when he was in Russia.
That's right. When I went to, where was it in Russia? The Olympics? I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, so you go ahead and do what you got to do. Have a good trip.
Nice talking with you.
Safe. Nice talking to you, and thanks for chipping in.
Okie doke. Right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So anyway...
Well, Felix, it's tomorrow's Passover. We have to tell the people. That's why we're doing the show tonight.
Oh, isn't tonight Friday? We said it was Friday before.
Well, we did, but I just realized that today's really Thursday because I just turned on the TV and one of my Thursday shows was on, and I said, wait, isn't it Friday?
Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow's Passover.
And Bill O'Reilly said, no, you pinhead, today's Thursday.
Exactly. And they're talking about... Dr. Mark will be having his Seder tomorrow night.
Well, I have to tell you, as I said before, I've been watching a lot of the Jewish Broadcasting System, JBS. I'm sure many of you can get it. And you don't have to be Jewish to watch it, let me tell you, folks. That's one of the things they tell you. Very interesting. I usually watch a lot of interdenominational things. And I even learned a few things about Passover that, uh, Hollywood and the Torah really didn't explain. For example, I think I started telling you that Moses' Hebrew name was Tuvia, and it was the Pharaoh's sister or daughter, I believe, who adopted him and took him out of the water and called him Moses, because Moses means that which I've drawn out of the water. That it was no secret that he was a Hebrew child, yet, they make it seem like it was a big surprise when he found out that he was a Hebrew. And when Pharaoh's daughter or sister, I'm not sure which really, started to raise him, Miriam, Moses' sister, said, I know of a wet nurse. And she took the baby Tuvia / Moses back to her house, where her mother, his actual birth mother, nursed him for 2 years. So during that time, he was taught that he was a Hebrew, even though he was being brought up in the palace as an Egyptian. Okay, and he saw the struggles of his people. The other thing that they never tell you in the Bible, I guess they feel in the Torah, they feel they don't have to explain it, is Moses' wife was a Midianite, and the Midianites were black. They were an Arab tribe in the desert. And if you watch the Ten Commandments, they don't show Moses being married to a black woman. You're talking about 1957, 58, and I guess it wouldn't fly in those days. Now it wouldn't be anything if they showed her to be a Midianite and have her be her real color, which is black. In fact, the same thing goes for Cleopatra. When Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton made Cleopatra was black, but Elizabeth Taylor is far from being black, because back then in 1962 or 63, they couldn't show Julius Caesar or, being affiliated or having a child with a black woman, even though she was the Queen of Egypt. So a lot of stuff left out.
This is left out of the Torah?
Well, it's not explained. Okay? It's all part of the Midrash, the Midrash is a book that explains certain things that are not explained in the Torah. And the Midrash is writings by learned rabbis over the years, to explain certain things that are not really explained in Torah.
Well, the Torah was written by God.
Well, he felt he didn't have to explain anything. Right. The 5 books of Moses, they call it.
So nothing should be explained because it's God's word.
Things are open to interpretation.
Not by Chad.
You can't keep talking about him that way. He's not on the air unless you want to call him up. But
I could talk about it, and he's not going to ridicule me.
Well, that's true. That's true.
If you don't... Excuse me?
Do you want pizza? It's up to you.
Do
you want pizza?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mark wants to know if we're going to play more music tonight.
No, not really. I've had my fill of music. I'll do a little bit more talking, and then you can say goodnight. But the point is that, and then when the Hebrews got to the Red Sea, they were complaining to Moses, you brought us here to drown. Now, the only thing that God said to Moses was that his people should have faith. God, Moses said that God would not lead us here only to have us die right here or be captured again by the Egyptians. So it wasn't that God told Moses to lift up his staff, okay, and then parted the Red Sea. Moses' brother Aaron, his brother-in-law, was named Nashov something or other. It's funny. I heard it and I saw it today and I can't remember. I have to write it down next time. But he started to walk into the waters of the Red Sea, and they made sure to say it was the Red Sea, not the Reed Sea. Science likes to say that the Hebrews crossed over the Reed Sea, which had natural-made reefs where at low tide you could walk across, and then when the tide came in, obviously it covered up and people drowned. But in the Torah, it was the Red Sea. Aaron's brother-in-law started walking in, and because he had faith in God, this was the whole point. Because he had faith in God, even though he couldn't swim, he walked in up to his nose, and rather than let him drown, God told Moses, "Lift up your staff." And Moses lifted up his staff, and God parted the waters. Now again, that's taken on faith, okay, as Chad would say, because there's nothing to prove it. And as I said, modern science likes to say that the Jews crossed on the Reed, R-E-E-D, Sea, which, as I just said, made for a natural reef where if the tide was low, you could walk across.
Where is the Reed Sea?
Well, not far, but I really don't know. It was in that general vicinity, but then they question, God. One of the points that they brought out was God cries for all of his children, whether they're Hebrews or not. And after the Hebrews went across to the other side, God caused the Red Sea to close, killing all of the Egyptians except one, and that was Pharaoh, to prove to Pharaoh that he was God, that there was only one God. Now the question arises, why did God, and God cried, it says in the Midrash, God cried when the Egyptian soldiers died, but the reason that it was done was because this was the same Egyptian army that for years killed 200 babies, Jewish babies, firstborn, every day, okay, because Pharaoh it was said, it was foretold that a Hebrew would overthrow him, okay? So, God was saying that in this case, he said this because when the Hebrews got to the other side, they started rejoicing and dancing and playing music. And God said that, no, you shouldn't do that. When somebody dies, whether he was an enemy or not, you should mourn for the death of that person. That's what he said. And it also says in the Midrash that there are times when you have to take a life, such as when it's self-preservation. If somebody's trying to kill you, So, it's, if you like religious philosophy as I do, the JBS network was like perfectly made for me. I could select things that I want to listen to. And if it's boring and it doesn't interest me, I just delete it, But I'm learning many things, that I really didn't know before. And I like to think that I had a pretty decent Hebrew upbringing,
Yeah, but you know more than just Hebrew, though, which is a good thing. You understand. You know a lot about the Christianity and Jesus.
Well, because that also interests me.
Yeah.
When Chad talks, I can understand where he's coming from. Okay? The thing is, while I can do that, he, on the other hand, might say that he understands where we're coming from, but all he's interested in is saving our soul. And our soul can't be saved